guys, it's Miss Smith. I am back here to help you read the story Where It All Began for our Wonder story this week. We are on in the book Unit 5 and on page 56 it looks like this. So before we read the story, let's review our vocabulary words from our last video. We know challenges are interesting or difficult problems. Endangered means that something has been put in danger. Scarce means that there is only a small amount of something left. Experienced means someone who knows a lot about something because they've been practicing it for a long time. An expert is a person who is very good and knows a lot about something. And artifacts are things that people made during a time in the past. All right. So we're going to hear some of the words in our story. It will help you to understand a little bit more. If you look on the first page, it says informational article. So informational is kind of the same as expository text. They are nonfiction. So the things that you read about them are real and they're true. So in an informational text, you will learn new facts about a topic. So our topic this week is to learn about the past, and it's about a very important settlement in the United States many years ago, before we were even a real country yet. So this will help you understand a little bit about our country's history and how it got started, which is why this story is called Where It All Began. We're going back to the beginning. So you can follow along in your book, and I'll read and we'll stop and discuss some important parts together, okay? All right, so where it all began. We're going to learn about the past to help us understand the present time, which is now. And to do that, we're going to learn about the Jamestown settlement. So in this informational text, we're going to learn facts, things that are true about the Jamestown settlement. So you can also look at the pictures to help you. Now this, someone obviously painted this. They did not take it with the real camera because they may not have had those back then. But the caption under this picture says, "The building of the Jamestown settlement in 1607. So you can see they're collecting their materials and cutting trees because they're starting to build their homes in this new place. So Jamestown, Virginia, first successful English settlement in America. Well, right there you've already got an important fact. Now you know it's the first place that people came to live in America many years ago. On December 20th, 1606, 3 ships sailed from England. They were going to Virginia. The ships sailed into Chesapeake Bay on April 26, 1607. The settlers built a fort on an island. They named it after their king, James. Jamestown was the first successful English settlement in America. So you probably saw this if you had a chance to watch the video on my YouTube channel, and it showed the map of how they traveled from England down to the Canary Islands, over and up to Virginia. So you could see their path. Here's the part that gets scary. The problems. You may not have heard about the problems in the video, so this part is different. There were 104 men and boys in Jamestown. They had many difficulties. Things were not easy. The water from the James River was not safe to drink, and food was hard to find. 2 weeks after the settlers arrived, 200 Indians attacked them. Yikes! They had lots of problems. So we know we've talked about how challenges are things that are difficult. They had lots of challenges, right? They couldn't find any water that was clean to drink. Do you want to drink dirty water that might make you sick? No. Ugh. It said food was hard to find. So if there's not much there, that means it's scarce. So they didn't just show up and there was a Kroger there where they could go get food. They either had to grow it themselves, and when you're growing vegetables and fruit, that takes time. It doesn't just happen overnight and you go pick it the next day. It takes a long time to grow food. And if they wanted to eat meat, they had to hunt and kill and cook their own animals. So, hard times here. On top of that, 200 Indians attacked them. Oh, can you imagine? That would be so scary. John Smith was an experienced military man. So, that's good. That means he's done this a lot. If you are a military person, that means that you have maybe been in an army or the Navy. You're a person that helps defend your country and your people. So he had done that a lot. So he was really good at it. It sounds like they needed someone to protect them, right? In 1608, he became the leader of the Jamestown colony. That blue word, colony, that means an area of land that is under the control of a powerful country. So these people who came to Jamestown were all from England. And England's king at the time was named James, so they named it Jamestown. So colony means it was still kind of part of England, even though it was on a different continent. He was in charge of finding local tribes that wanted to trade food for English copper and beads. Smith was tough with both the Indians and his men. Smith knew he needed his men to work together. The western Chesapeake area was ruled by Chief Powhatan. His daughter, Pocahontas, was a friend to John Smith. So you'll see again, because they didn't have good cameras back then, there are not any real photographs, but someone painted a picture of what they think it would have looked like. It says, Pocahontas saved the life of Captain John Smith. So there were many times that the men from England and the Indians or Native Americans, the people that already lived here, would fight and argue because they didn't want the new people to come take their land. So there were lots of arguments, and John Smith and he was from England, but Pocahontas was one of the Indians that lived here. And so they worked together to bring the Indians and the people from England together so they would not fight. And they found ways for them to help each other. The Indians knew how to grow food here in this new land, and people from England had brought things with them, like beads for jewelry and copper and other valuable things that the Indians did not have here. So they said, well, I'll give you this if you give me some food. And so they traded and found ways to get along because of John Smith, who was experienced in protecting people through the military, and Pocahontas, who was the Indian chief's daughter. So that means her dad was like the leader of the Indian tribe there. Here is a little bit more information about Pocahontas. You'll see this sometimes in informational or expository texts. It's like a little extra piece of information that helps you understand the main story even more. So I'll read about Pocahontas. Princess Matoka was born around 1595. Her father, Chief Powhatan, called her Pocahontas. She saved John Smith's life twice. So she convinced her people not to hurt John Smith because he was trying to convince his people not to hurt the Indians. Pocahontas married a planter named John Rolfe. It was the first marriage at that time between an Englishman and a Native American woman. So one of the men that came from England to Virginia married Pocahontas. They fell in love. And that was the first time that someone from England had married a Native American. Rolfe, Pocahontas, and their son visited London. So after they were married, they had a son, and they went on a big ship and sailed back across the ocean to visit London, which is in England. Maybe they were going to visit John Rolfe's family. We don't really know. She never returned home. Pocahontas became ill on a ship returning to Jamestown. She died in March 1617. So that's very sad. After their trip to visit London, she became sick on the ship on their way home. So that's really sad because she had a special friendship with the people from England and helped bring peace to a lot of people at the time. All right, let's go on to the last page that says a closer look. This kind of will tell you what people have found. Jamestown is still there. You can go visit it. But of course, people don't live like that anymore. They don't live in small wooden cabins and live the way that these English men had to live back then. But there are still a lot of artifacts, which means there's still a lot of things that they made during this time that people have found. And that's what this part is about. It says archaeologists have discovered Indian and English artifacts in Jamestown. This is evidence that the Indians and English lived together in the fort for some time. So that's good news. It showed that the Englishmen had things, the Native Americans had things, and that they were living peacefully together because all of their stuff was found together. The archaeologist William Kelso has studied this site for 10 years. His team has uncovered more than 1 million artifacts and has mapped out the fort's shape, its foundations, and a burial ground. So they found over 1 million things that they made back then. It would be really interesting to search for that and see things they found. Maybe they found jewelry. Maybe they found dishes that they used to eat with. Maybe they found tools or clothes. It would be really cool. And they were able to kind of make a map based on what they found that showed exactly where they lived. And it said also its foundations. And a foundation means a layer of stones that supports a building. So they were able to even see where many of the houses used to be because they could see that first bottom layer of stone. And a burial ground, that's a place where after people die, they dig the hole in the ground and put the body in the ground. So they were even able to find where they buried people when they died. There was a lot of greed and war in Jamestown, but it was also the beginning of representative government. The settlers gave America a good foundation to build upon. So, in the beginning, Remember when the Native Americans and the Englishmen did not get along? There was a lot of greed and war. That means the Englishmen wanted everything to themselves. The Native Americans wanted everything to themselves. They were fighting and hurting and killing each other, which is war. But after all of that, they did learn how to live together peacefully, and it helped our country to begin. And it taught people that they need to work together with others so that we can have a successful government. Just a little bit of history about the United States. So when we Zoom this week, we'll talk some more to help you understand this story. There's also some questions on your checklist this week. I think there's 3, and you can just find the answers by underlining it and writing the number of the question that shows where you find the answer. All right, guys. So far this week, you've watched the video about Jamestown. You've watched the vocabulary video. We've read the story. Now it's your turn to read the story on your own the next day and find answers to the questions. And then during our Zoom meeting, we'll talk together to understand some of the facts that we learned. If you have any questions or need any help, remember to send me a dojo message or an email, and I am happy to answer your question and help you however I can. All right, guys, until next time, have a good day, and I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.